Yeah, we had meetings this morning, so I'm running behind. So I gotta continue to work here. Work getting in the way of my fun again.
That's okay. We're live now.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Welcome, everybody. This is A Course in Miracles, and we are doing pages 25 to 40 today, talking about A Course in Miracles. So there's been so many wonderful things we've discovered in this book so far. If you're interested, just go back and watch the first two shows. We're on the third one. And yeah, so let's get started. So the last one that we left off on, I think we were pretty close to the functions of the miracle worker. So I think we could just start there.
What page?
So in this book, the functions of the miracle worker is on 24.
Okay, yeah. We don't have the same book, right? Could it be?
Yeah, no, I think yours is slightly different.
Healing as release from fear. That wouldn't be it. Reinterpretation of defenses.
I will tell you exactly where it is in your book. I have your book in my scribed here. All right, so it's the functions of I'm not sure if it's in chapter 2.
In chapter 2, the illusion of separation.
Yeah, separation and atonement. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just them called different.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find the miracles, distortions of miracle impulses, the illusion of separation, instruction, healing as a release from fear. I'm not sure where that would be.
It's okay. I'll follow.
Okay. So one of the lines that I highlighted was the body does not exist except for the learning device for the mind. This learning device is not subject to areas of its own because it cannot create. I thought that was really interesting to learn that the body itself is actually not creating. We are creating the image of the body. Like God actually is creating the image of the body for us.
I find that makes sense to me because I think about it, that everything we do in healing, if we're not doing what we need to do, we create physical pain in the body, we create all of these things. We create physical pain in the body. Physical pain doesn't exist in the body. We've created it with our mind. We have to create it before it becomes physical.
Right. It's really interesting. I'm always reading lots of different stuff. So right now I'm also reading the Silva method.
Oh, and yeah.
One of the things that they do in their, because they're activating alpha brainwaves, but one of the things that they tell you constantly is your body is actually not there. It's like telling the mind your body is not there. It's only there as a creation when you come to your reality again. So I think it's really interesting that, to just start to wrap your mind around the concept that the body is actually not really there.
It's all created by our mind. Everything is created with mind.
Mhm.
with thought. Example of this, and I thought it was pretty powerful and pretty freaky because with the power of the mind, like 2 years ago, I lost 60 pounds.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. And like I gained a few pounds in the last few months. And I remember how I was dealing with it then.
Mhm.
It was just me affirming that my body was like leaner.
Wow.
Yes. It's the way
And
yourself.
yeah. And like you can't tell that to anybody. Oh, you lost 50, 60 pounds. How did you do it? Out of the mind. But the power of mind will bring me without effort to do whatever I need to do to lose the weight.
Yes. That's brilliant.
And
Because
there's no effort into it.
yeah. As long as you see yourself as fat, you're going to be fat.
Yep.
If you see yourself as thin and beautiful and healthy, you're going to be thin, beautiful, and healthy.
And it really does work.
True
Mhm.
story.
So it's true that it's the power of the mind who creates everything,
Mhm.
Yeah.
or atonement or connection, or yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that, and I love how you said, because it took time to get there, right? So in the Sylvan method, they talk about how the more you do it, the deeper it embeds into deeper areas of the mind, the more that you repeatedly do it over and over again. That's the same thing as like all affirmations, right? The more you do it, the deeper it gets to the mind, and the more it can start to physically start to happen in your physical world.
Hence that we can create everything.
Mhm.
Everything.
I mean, a prime example is with, let's say, chronic pain, just because I can relate to it. If you're doing other things, you're out on a nature walk, it's a beautiful day, you're not thinking about that pain, nothing hurts. When you sit down and you think about it, then you're like, oh, I got a headache. Oh, my back hurts. That back didn't hurt a minute ago because you weren't thinking about it. So a lot of it's created by your thought, created by your mind, and then passed on in a physical sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so powerful. On paragraph 2, magic is the mindless or miscreative use of mind. Physical medications are spells, but if you are afraid to use the mind to heal, you should not attempt to do so. The very fact that you are afraid makes your mind vulnerable for miscreation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Fear is our enemy.
Well, and the thing that they were talking about here, and this is something that I've been really like, so that medications and alcohol and drugs and all of that are like spells that we use to change the mind frame or change the creation that we've created, right? Isn't that, but they don't last,
Nope.
right? We have to continue doing those spells over and over and over again for them to last. But this is something that I've been thinking a lot about, right? Is like over time, because when we're children, curiosity and play and like all of these, things that we can use as stress relievers when we're older kind of go away because we get bogged down by responsibilities. We get bogged down by, fears and different things that we misconstrue and are learning as we go. And then we start to have to lean on these spells in order to unwind or get a sense of unwinding, going back to that playtime that we lost. I don't know. What do you guys
Right.
think?
Those spells, we're creating those spells so that we don't have to deal with our emotions and our real life. So when you're taking medication, when you're having drinks, when you're, whatever your choice of spell is or magic, you're away from what you're supposed to be feeling. We don't want to feel. It's like you said, I think earlier or in the last one, we don't want to see the bad. We just want to see the good. So it's bad, we cover that up, which that's not what you are meant to do. You're creating a false pretense, because once that medication wears off, those feelings are going to come back.
It's so interesting too, because it reminded me too of the conversation we were having with Michelle, right, over text.
Yes.
The right-minded neither exalts nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or the miracle receiver. So the right-minded neither exalts nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or miracle receiver. Now, what do you think that means? That kind of struck me, and I was like, that's an interesting phrase. I don't know if I get it.
I don't think I get it, honestly.
I know.
I don't either.
So the miracle expression, where can you say that again?
Yeah, so it's paragraph 2 under the functions of the miracle worker, or paragraph 3, sorry, line 2.
Yeah.
The right-minded neither exalts nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or the miracle receiver. Like, I guess I just assumed that would be the case, that the miracle wouldn't depreciate either mind that's receiving the miracle. Does that?
Oh, Lisa's saying it's the state of the mind of the healer.
Okay. Talking about the healer's state of mind. Okay, the right-minded neither exalt nor depreciate the mind of the miracle worker or the miracle receiver. Anyways, however, as a correction, miracle needed not await the right-mindedness of the receiver. Okay, so they're saying that the miracle can happen even if the receiver is not completely ready, but it will never destroy or depreciate the mind.
Makes a lot of sense.
Does it though?
I know. Then it is essential, however, sorry, I want to see what Lisa's saying too. Okay, she says yes. It is essential, however, that the miracle worker be in his right mind, however briefly, or he will be unable to reestablish right-mindedness in someone else.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what they were saying too, is like, you know, as long as you're willing, everything can get set aside and the miracle can come right through, which I think we've all experienced that one way or another. Like, you know, when those inspirations just fire and they move right through us, and then it just, oh yeah, it kind of wakes, it's like almost like an atonement or something. Paragraph 4, you are perfectly safe as long as you are completely unconcerned about your readiness, but maintain a consistent trust in mine, which I think is really good.
Nice.
Yeah, Lisa says exactly.
The sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself or herself. This means that he recognized that mind is the only creative level, and that its errors are healed by the atonement.
Mm-hmm.
When he accepts this, his mind can only heal.
Yeah. And that's part of the atonement process, right? The more we align to the higher thinking, and like I associate the higher thinking with like it raises everybody. Like,
yes,
there's nobody at fault in the atonement thinking.
Exactly.
Right? Everybody is of light.
And being the miracle worker, we can, if we're in that state of atonement, we can bring others. Wait. We can bring, if the miracle worker is in mind of atonement and connection and flowing connection, we can bring others to that but we can't if we're not.
That's
Mm.
right. If you like you, Linda, I'm reading all these other things and I'm doing still my Reiki. And it talks about that. Very important that you clear your mind and that you're in a good headspace before you try to help someone else. Because not only are you possibly not helping the other person, you're also doing detriment to yourself because that fear is there.
Mm. It's interesting. Okay, so on paragraph 7, still under the functions of the miracle worker, corrective learning always begins with the awakening of spirit and the turning away from the belief in physical sight.
Yeah.
This has been more and more something that I feel is happening with me more and more. When the Holy Spirit is permitted to look upon the defilement of the altar, he also looks immediately towards the atonement. That's line 5 under that 7th paragraph, which I thought was really interesting.
I'm of the altar. Oh, okay. So as soon as he sees there's an issue, the Holy Spirit is also looking at how to help you heal it.
Right.
Is that what it does?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to invite the Holy Spirit in all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Does the Holy Spirit have to be invited?
That's the free will part, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because I
Lisa says, correct, Kathy.
okay, sorry.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Lisa says that's correct, Kathy.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa.
So she also says the healer must have the greater good of all thinking for the healing to take place. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too in the Sylvan method that they talk about is he would never work with somebody if they said, oh, then if I was healthy, I could live it up and do whatever. He was like, no, he had to correct the value that if you're going to heal, you need to actually spread that healing. You can't just keep it for yourself. You have a purpose to play here. You have to give it out or do whatever it is that you're here to do, whatever mission it is that you're here to do on this planet. Yeah. I think that's really an awesome point, Lisa. Yeah. In paragraph 9, under the same, however, is at line 3, however, as long as time persists, healing is needing as a mean of protection. This is because healing rests on charity, and charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it yourself.
Okay. Wow, I just got that and I underlined it, but as you read it, I understood it. I underlined it that I didn't understand it, but hearing it again, it's because when you're doing this, you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart. You're doing it to help someone else. That's the charity. That's where the charity comes in.
Yep.
So even if you don't feel perfect and you don't perceive it in yourself, you can help someone else. Is that what it's saying?
Yeah, I think so. However, as long as time persists, healing is needed as a means of protection. This is because, and I love how they say healing is needed as a means of protection. This is because healing rests on charity, and charity is a way of perceiving the perfection of another, even if you cannot perceive it in yourself. Yes, absolutely. That means that no matter what, even if you don't see perfection yourself, you can see perfection in other people, and therefore you can help them heal.
Right.
And then paragraph 10, line 6, the miracle as an expression of charity can only shorten it. It must be understood, however, that whenever you offer a miracle to another, you are shortening the suffering of both of you. It's correct retroactively. As what were you going to say?
See, it's so interesting, like even the way they say that, charity is a way of looking at another as if he's already gone far beyond his actual accomplishments in time. Since his own thinking is faulty, he can't see the atonement for himself, or we'd have no need for charity. The charity that is accorded him is both an acknowledgement that he needs help and a recognition that he will accept it. Both of these perceptions clearly imply their dependence on time, making it apparent that charity still lies within the limitations of the world. That's, I don't know what that means. You talk in riddles, Course in Miracles.
Right? So true. Yeah. Sorry, I was having a thought there and now it kind of ran away on me. So if charity is a way of looking at another as if he had already gone far behind his actual accomplishments in time. Since his own thinking is faulty, he cannot see the atonement for himself, or he would have no need for charity, no need of charity. The charity that is accorded him is both an acknowledgement that he needs help and a recognition that he will accept it.
So whoever we want to help needs to accept the help.
I think it's the person, they're talking here about the person giving the help.
Okay.
Right? Like, yeah. I'm not sure I can
mean that only revelation transcends time. What does that mean?
Can you repeat that, Kathy?
So right in that same paragraph, it's number 5. I said before that only revelation transcends time. The miracle as an expression of charity can only shorten it.
Well, I think what they're talking about there is when you have a revelation, you're changing your past and your future at once, like right now, in the now.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you have that revelation, that atonement, that truth that penetrates everything, it's like your past and your future are completely changed.
Nice. Okay. And Lisa's saying yes.
Yeah. It's that one there, the charity part kind of, I don't get it all.
It's tough to wrap your head around, isn't it? I have a question. They had, like, for this book, it said that I thought that you could go and look at different things and it would explain what it meant. Excuse me.
What was
Yeah.
that?
My understanding is when you looked at this at the beginning of this book, excuse me.
The more you give, the more you receive. That's what Lisa's saying. Charity, the more you give. Well, and that's kind of what it's saying too, but it's saying too, as long as you're still giving in charity, you have not healed. Pretty much. That's what I read there. That you're healing with the person that you're helping heal at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's yeah. I've lived that before.
I live it all the time.
All the time. When you because when you give through atonement or whatever, it goes through us. So when we heal, it heals us too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so did we look at the principles of the miracle worker? Did we want to go through those?
Yes.
Yeah, the miracle abolishes the need for lower order concerns. Since it is an out of pattern time interval, The ordinary considerations of time and space do not apply. When you perform a miracle, I will arrange both time and space to adjust it. So that's just saying when the miracle works through you, you don't have to do anything and everything just aligns on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you pay attention.
If what?
If you pay attention to the signs.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, absolutely. And this is so funny. I mean, how many people have miracles working through them all the time and just don't see that it's happening, right?
Right.
Okay, the next one, a clear distinction between what is created and what is made is essential. A clear distinction between what is created and what is made is essential. All forms of healing rest on fundamental correction and level perception. The distinction between what is created and what is made is essential. Yeah, so that is an interesting statement because we need to know the difference between us creating and miracles coming into creation, right?
That confused me a little, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I get it. I find some of the wording confusing too. All forms of healing rest on the fundamental correction in level perception. So it's like recognizing, okay, did I create this or did this work through me?
Okay.
Right. So it's like defining the difference between, is it something that worked through me or did I create it? And from what I understand, the things that we create suffering.
Right.
And the things that God creates happiness and bliss and love and joy and all that.
Exactly.
So I guess you always have to ask yourself what the end result is when you're creating it. Is this for the person's higher good?
Yeah. Lisa's saying, yes, our ego creates the suffering. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, so 3, never confuse right and wrong-mindedness. Responding to any form of error with anything except a desire to heal is an expression of this confusion. Yeah,
There's
so
no right or wrong. We can't judge because it's all experience, right?
yeah, exactly. So all things, like approaching everything with the idea that you just want to heal and you want to make the world a better place.
Yeah. And we can judge right. We cannot judge right from wrong because we all have to go through experience to evolve. So it's just seeing with eyes of love.
Right.
Absolutely.
And not your own perception. Because
Exactly.
I think that I know what's best for Linda doesn't mean that that's actually what's best for Linda. Maybe this is a different journey for you and this is how your path needs to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. The next one, the miracle is always a denial of this error and an affirmation of the truth. Only right-mindedness can correct in a way that has any real effect. Pragmatically, what has no real effect has no real existence. Its effect then is emptiness. Being without substantial content, it lends itself to projection.
Most definitely.
I know.
The dear mirror.
So true. So if we're not in alignment, then we're projecting.
Yeah.
Right.
So as soon as we have like any kind of emotional reaction to the outside world, which this is something that I've been really becoming aware of, is like when I'm sitting in that internal space or when I'm reacting to the outside world or when something is like triggering an emotion, it's such an interesting observation. So then it's like recognizing, are you just having a projection, or are you like sitting in truth and seeing real truth?
And if it doesn't feel right,
It's a projection.
Usually not right. Yeah.
yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
I find it a bit of a trick if, to try to figure it all out. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to spend a lot of time sitting with yourself, listening to your intuition, listening to see what that looks like, instead of your perception.
Oh yeah. It really, like, I find now when I have like reactions, I'm like, oh, okay. So what is the truth? Like, I invite you, God, please help me see the truth. What is the truth that's happening here?
Oh, I love that, Linda.
Yeah, it's been helping a lot. And then and I may not get it right away, but I would say usually within the hour, it's like, oh, okay, I get it now.
The truth. I love that.
Mhm. Okay. The level adjustment power of the miracle induces the right perception for healing. Unless this has occurred, healing cannot be understood. Forgiveness is an empty gesture unless it entails correction. Without this, it is essential judgment rather than healing. This now, I'm huge on forgiveness. I think everybody knows that. And this here was really like a confirmation point for me, because forgiveness, when we don't actually learn where the misinterpretation of the situation happened, we don't forgive. It's just a mere judgment then, instead of a healing. Because the healing is seeing that nobody is at fault. Everybody is just kind of doing the best that they can with what they're given. I mean, it's really hard to look at that when you look at it from the point of view of like the mass murderer, though. But, that's just an extreme miscreation.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that's an extreme miscreation and timelines in the mind. Miracle-minded forgiveness is only correction. It has no element of judgment at all. The statement, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do, in no way evaluates what they do. It is an appeal to God to heal their minds. There is no reference to the outcome of the error. That does not matter. And then they talked about that whole situation, the miracle, and it was the resurrection, not the sacrifice. And to believe that it was the sacrifice is believing in the false. I thought was pretty interesting.
Right. God would not allow us to suffer in that way.
Yeah. 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 So I thought that was really interesting about the forgiveness part of that situation. So the next one, the injunction, be of one mind, is the statement for revelation readiness. My request, do this in remembrance of me, is the appeal for cooperation from miracle workers. The two statements are not in the same order of reality. Only the latter involves an awareness of time, since to remember is to recall the past and the present. Time is under my direction, but timelessness belongs to God. In time, we exist for and with each other. In timelessness, we coexist with God. So be of one mind. And lose time. Like just.
When you get into atonement, you just feel bliss. I don't know if I'm okay with all this. Well, saying what I'm gonna say, but it feels like everything is bliss. So whatever's going on with whoever you're dealing with, you can only see love, because they're just, that they're just going through something, or through their own beliefs, their own fears.
That's right.
So you're able to see that it's all fear and all old belief that they have. But once you're connected and in that bliss, everything is light.
That's right. Yeah. Lisa's saying acceptance, like pure acceptance.
Pure acceptance. Yeah.
All right, so the last one is you can do much on behalf of your own healing and that of others if, in a situation calling for help, you think of it in this way. And then there's a little saying, I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah, that's an interesting, and I wish I could just turn that on as a recording in my mind when I need it.
Well, connecting before having a conversation or anything, like once you connect, and like let's say you have a meeting with somebody and you're not sure where to go, what to do, or what to say, well, just connecting and having a prayer and okay, my word, use my body, my eyes, my mouth, like use it so I can do good, because this is my true purpose here. And when you do that, you take the time to get connected before doing any healing. It's not really you, and it usually goes very well compared to what you could imagine how wrong it can go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just handing it all over. And I find,
Everything.
I find that that is a practice that becomes very easy to do because all you want is to help, right? So it's like, just hand it over. Whatever needs to work through me, just work through me. Help me ask the right questions, guide me, whatever it is. Like,
And it really works. That's the miracle in all that, is how you let it flow and it works. It just goes through. I just lived it yesterday.
That's beautiful.
Yes, it was amazing.
Fear and conflict is the next section. And paragraph 1, line 5, fear prevents me from giving you my control. So, and this I find really interesting because there's so many different, like as we're doing the inner child work, that's kind of, what we're trying to do is we're trying to go back to all those times when you believed or stepped into a fear moment, right? Or a lack of abundance moment, or there's so many different ones, right? And when we go back to those moments, it's as though our energy, like the energy that we receive from God, it's as though like as those moments happen, it like shortens and makes it smaller. As the more fear that we have, the smaller our connection to that energy is. And the more that we clear those, they come open again, so that you're getting more connection, more information, more of those impulses through. And so it's literally fear that blocks it.
Most definitely, fear is the blockage. But the other way around is true too. More you connect, more you let yourself, then that dissipate the fear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because the more you take steps in that direction of following that, it breaks apart those impulses of, wrong thinking that was created so long ago.
Yep.
It creates alignment in each one of those small personalities that we have inside of us. So another one, it says, you may believe that you are responsible for what you do, but not what you think. The truth is that you are responsible for what you think, because it's only at this level that you can exercise choice. What you do comes from what you think.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever you are afraid is a sure sign that you have allowed your mind to miscreate and have not allowed me to guide it. I love that. And it's so
Love
true.
it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lisa's doing hands up, like high fives. Next one. You must change your mind, not your behavior. And this is a matter of willingness. You do not need guidance except at the mind level. Yeah. So the only thing that you need is correction of thinking.
Thinking.
Mhm.
And it's catching you up. It's just the fact that, okay, right now I have that feeling of fear, or I'm thinking that way, or I feel lack. Then trying to catch yourself in that thought and then change it.
Mhm.
That's the process. Because,
And
this
that's
book,
right.
yeah, because I catching up on my reading, and I went on YouTube also to help me like comprehend the book and everything. And it says it's not necessarily a book to comprehend, but to practice. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
does that make sense to you? It's not necessarily
Absolutely.
to
I
be
mean, this is what
comprehended, but it's to be practiced. And
That
that's
makes
where the
total-
changes come.
Yeah.
And more you practice the love and the connection, the fear gets out of the way, and then you can see more of the brightness
That's right.
and
So
create.
Lisa says comprehension comes from the practice.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Before you choose to do anything, ask me if your choice is in accordance with mine.
Oh.
Yeah. I really, really like that one.
That's a nice tool. Thank you.
But then, yeah, I find that's an interesting, because how do you know? Like, this is the thing too, right? Is how do you know if you're hearing your own mind or if you're hearing God? How do you know?
I have no idea whose mind I hear most of the time. I'm not going to lie. More about what
I mean, I like to think, yeah. And I say, God, can you help me? But it does feel like it comes from a different part of my mind than the thinking mind. It does when I like ask, but then it's like, am I just
but probably the way you feel about the answer.
Right.
I have the same trouble. Like, is that message coming from me or from God? But I think it's how we feel about the message.
Yes. Lisa's
Maybe
saying
that
so.
it would be the hint.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's starting to, the way I'm going to start to trust what I'm thinking and feeling before saying anything is taking a deep breath, asking myself what you're going to say right now. Is this for this person's higher good, or is it because you are frustrated? If it's because you're frustrated, take a minute.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do, right? I mean, in a perfect world, when we're all talking today, we love everyone, we love everything. The minute you're at Costco and 3 people are in front of you with those cards chit-chatting, right, in your way, then you're like, wait, take a breath. And I did that the other day. I was quite proud of myself because we were in a line, and it was an immigrant family, which is okay. So they probably didn't know the customs or whatever, but 4 of them walked in front of me to pay. It's like the first thing that almost came out of my mouth is, am I invisible? But then I looked at them and I thought, that family is so happy today. They're out together, they're shopping. They've found things that make them happy. How upsetting it would it be for them for me to say that, which they probably didn't even realize that they cut in front of everybody. It was just, what happened at that time. Does that make sense?
It does, although I had a similar experience in the summertime where these two kids were butting in front of us at a ride that my daughter and I and her friend were like, patiently waiting for a long time to get on.
Yeah.
And I was like, excuse me, are you waiting to get in line? And they're like, are you waiting to get on the ride? Yeah, we are. And I was like, oh, we've been waiting here a long time. And I think that you need to go to the back of the line and wait as long as we have.
Ew.
And I mean,
Well,
it
that was
wasn't
okay
like,
too.
yeah, like it wasn't like I was telling them something bad, but it was like, just have a little respect for the people who are waiting a really long time to get on this ride too,
And in that case, I can see that. But for me, it was a matter of minutes before they paid, I paid. Really, it did not even make a difference. All it was my ego saying, oh, they butted in front of the line. We need to shut that down. Why? Why? Who cares? Who cares?
True story.
But if I was waiting 2 hours in a line, I have to say I'd probably be right there with you.
I was like, no, I can't let this slide. And I couldn't for my daughter's sake too, because then in the future she would think that that was okay to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Somebody else. And yeah. All right. So fear is always a sign of strain arising whenever what you want conflicts with what you do. Fear is always a sign of strain arising whenever what you want conflicts with what you do. This is such an important message. We have to be in alignment with what we want. Because when we are acting out of alignment with what we want, so what I mean by that is like, you're trying to quit smoking.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
And I mean, we all know how challenging that is. So when you're trying to quit smoking and you're still smoking, it's going to create bad feelings and strain and depression and all of these things inside of you because you're not in alignment with what you want to do. Does that make
Most
sense?
definitely, yes.
Mhm.
But then it's all about perfect timing, right? Either you're in line, either I'm like talking about quitting smoking. I want to quit smoking, and it did bring a lot of negative feelings. And then I just said, okay, this is not working right now. It's not allowing what. Maybe I have to smoke because it's bringing me something else
Absolutely.
that I
And
need at this moment.
that's right. And that's a creation of thought that's in alignment with your actions. So then it releases you from that heaviness and that strain.
Yep. And then I kind of smoke less because I give less attention to it negatively.
That's beautiful. When I
Yeah.
quit smoking, that was paramount. I had to speak in the now, which was if I was smoking in the now, I was giving into a temptation and it was okay. I just kept telling my mind, this is good. We're going through this right now. This is what we need right now. Soon we will not need this. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And you just let it flow.
Yeah, you can tell yourself that this is what I need to do to heal from whatever is causing me to smoke. It takes away stress in between that because, like you said, quitting smoking is terrible. It's hard. So it gives you that time. Okay, I smoked the cigarette. I gave that craving. I gave in. But at the same time, now my mind is able to receive what I need to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like when you're telling yourself, oh my God, what an idiot. I'm so like, why can't I quit this? What's wrong with me? And that's just sending you down into a pit of like darkness.
Yep. Yeah, most definitely. And then when you accept it, it flows.
Yeah. Yeah. It just becomes a natural depletion.
Yeah.
Okay. The mind is very powerful and never loses its creative force. It never sleeps. Every instant is creating. It is hard to recognize that thought and belief combine into a power surge that can literally move mountains.
I know, right? It's hard to believe.
So we do have way more power than we realize. It's just that we're not using that alignment with God to create, right?
When we say move mountains, you know, we heard that all our lives. Like we can move mountains and God move mountains. Is it a metaphor or is it like literal? It can't be like, I know I can't move a mountain, but you know what I mean?
Hmm. It's a great question. I can't answer that either.
If nothing is real and it's only our thought of creating, so my reality and your reality, maybe the mountain's not there at the same place. You know what I mean?
It's a smaller mountain made out of plastic.
Yeah, so Lisa, she says, give the example of how her daughter was able to shift her spine through healing, through her thoughts.
Amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. Yeah, I know we have a lot of power in our thinking, but man, I have yet to been able to move physical objects. I really worked on this yesterday when I was reading that. Like,
I
really
moved my
honestly,
weight.
I'm like, okay, I see you there, but if I feel you there, will you move?
But is it because of your perception that that mountain is too big? You're not going to be able to move it. Because if you look at ancient times and you look at pyramids, those were big pyramids. They did not have tractors out there moving those. They had men, real men and real people. So how did they do this? Because they believed they could do it. They found a way. They were guided towards finding a way to create that.
Absolutely, Kathy. You are absolutely right. Yeah, you prefer to believe that your thoughts cannot exert real influence because you are actually afraid of them.
Right.
Yeah. And we're growing up with beliefs of limitations
Oh my gosh, no kidding. It's everywhere.
everywhere.
I think we are thinking we can move a mountain. You know, I remember when hearing you are God, someone said that to me, and I was like, when I first came on this journey, and I was like, wow, like those are powerful words. I'm not God. God is like, who do I think I am to think I can say I'm God? Like I'm Kathy from McLaughlin. You know what I mean? Like, don't be thinking I can perform miracles today, because I'm not.
But that's the religious aspect that they wanted to remove, that knowing from the people. I mean, that's what, to me, that's what all the witch trials and everything were about. Because witches, they knew they perform miracles all the time. That was just a natural thing for them. So if you could do that, then they would just burn you at the stake and burn it out.
Enough of
Yeah,
that.
because they were afraid of all that power, right? So we were raised like in all that fear. So today, being more connected and trying to understand this, is putting a lot of old beliefs like from generation to generation to generations. But then when we do get conscious of how powerful our mind is and true love and peace, like it's just like erasing the past for our experience.
Yeah, which is what we were talking about earlier, is that it
Yep.
wipes out the past and realigns the future too.
Yep.
Right.
Because really, ultimately, past and future aren't even real creation. Okay, so the next one is the cause and effect. I have already indicated to you that you cannot ask me to release you from fear. I know it does not exist, but you do not. If I intervene between your thoughts and their results, I would be tampering with the basic law of cause and effect, the most fundamental law there is. I would hardly help you if I depreciated the power of your own thinking.
Free will?
Yeah, well, it's free will, but it's also like recognize the power of your own thinking, right? So God cannot intervene and change anything that you're thinking. It's the law of cause and effect. He's not allowed to interrupt. Just like, you know, when we're working with somebody, you can't change the way that they feel. You have to help them find it inside of themselves.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
I like that.
you can have inspired thinking. You can bring through inspired thinking that you're hoping may inspire them to connect to that higher thinking, but you cannot change the way that they think.
It's something they have to do by themselves with their own life
Really,
experience.
yeah, release of fear.
Yeah.
You do not guard your thoughts carefully enough.
Yeah, that's true. You do not guard your thoughts enough.
Mhm.
Because we forget their power.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We do forget their power. It's so difficult sometimes, especially when you're just not feeling like emotionally well, to, you know, be on guard all the time, what's going through the mind. It's like, you know what? Sometimes you just need to be.
Well, yeah, of course. And, you know, being careful of our thoughts, it kind of, for me, it gets into, what's the word I'm looking for? Habit. I catch myself. More I watch my thinking, it's going to come naturally that I catch myself thinking, oh, okay, I'm thinking that way. Now I have to switch, you know? It's not necessarily an effort. At first it is, like anything we start, but after a while it just comes instinctly.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. Miracle working entails a full realization of the power of thought in order to avoid miscreation, of course. So you need to realize that, you know, your thoughts are creating all the time. It never stops. It's always, always, always creating. So what are you creating? By choosing the miracle, you have rejected fear, if only temporary. You have misperceived or miscreated us and believe in what you have made. Yeah. You've been fearful of everyone and everything. You're afraid of God, of me, and of yourself. You have misperceived or miscreated us and believe in what you've made. You would not have done this if you were not afraid of your own thoughts. The fearful must miscreate because they misperceive creation. When you miscreate, you are in pain. Yeah. I feel like that goes without saying. At this point, I think we all get that.
Yeah.
Fear is really nothing and love is everything. We know that. Readiness is the only prerequisite for accomplishment. Yeah. Confidence cannot develop fully until mastery has been accomplished. That's true. I
It
feel
is
like,
true.
and even, and yeah, that like perks up so many different things, because I know that I've had pockets of moments, but to be confident, that's still not there yet. One of the ways, okay, so now we're in the meaning of the last judgment, which I think this chapter is really cool. One of the ways in which you can correct the magic miracle confusion is to remember that you did not create yourself. You are apt to forget this when you become egocentric. Like, does that mean that the law of attraction is creating a bunch of egocentric human beings? You know, when you watch like The Secret, that was my interpretation when I read that. I was like, that's interesting. So like The Secret doesn't really tell you, you know, connect with God and find out if your thoughts and what you're creating is in alignment. They don't tell you that part. So what they're really doing is they're creating a bunch of egocentric people who are miscreating in their reality.
Yeah, because you have to be connected with God, light, and love to create miracles and magical moments. If you're creating with ego, then you create fear-based
Hmm.
things.
We're also creating want instead of need, I think, because if I can create anything, think about this, the secret, like you said, there's no real trick to it. They're saying create a vision board, tell them what you want, and it's coming. Yeah, that's not really how it works though. Because number one, if it's fear based, it's not going to happen, or you're going to get something you don't want. Or number two, like you're going to do stuff you want instead of need. Nobody needs like a mansion. You might want one, but that's not for your higher good. So you should be, I guess the ego's there to help you in crisis and to protect you. But at the same time, you also need to set it aside in order to make decisions that are going to benefit you and others around you, because it's not about us. It's about everyone as a collective
Yeah.
For the greater good.
for the greater good.
Whatever you create in a state of lack, well, won't even come.
Well, it may come, but it's probably going to bring with it more suffering.
Yeah, exactly.
So Lisa says, if you don't change your thoughts, you don't learn your lesson.
Right.
Most definitely, yeah.
It is essential, however, that you free yourself from fear quickly, because you must emerge from the conflict if you are to bring peace to other minds. Yeah, so we need to really start to understand this. The last judgment might be called a process of right evaluation. It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not. And then this is the end of chapter 2. When everything you retain is lovable, there is no reason for fear to remain with you. This is part of the atonement. Yeah. So, and this, I was thinking a lot about this yesterday, is when you get to a point where everywhere you look and everything that you're doing is just creating this cycle of abundance, cycle of love, cycle of joy, peace, like, you know, it's like those success loops that Tony Robbins talks about. You know, you get on a success loop and you start to get a little bit more confidence. You start to gain a little bit more
Momentum.
Exactly. And then it's just, it expands and it grows and it becomes a bigger thing. Yeah.
This book is good news. It gives us, like, because sometimes we can read something like that and it can bring fear.
Absolutely.
But if it brings fear, we might not be ready to hear it, or it's just like our own ego going through with this and it brings fear. But I feel like this book is good news in the way that we have power over everything in life, as long as we don't let ourselves go into fear. We can create whatever we want, which is a greater good for us and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to be ready. Like I remember, Linda, you saying you read this book or tried to read it 2 or 3 times, and maybe it didn't make sense, but maybe you're a little further on your journey. Maybe, you know, this is a time where you can take to really understand what the book says. And that's where your interest is coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you can read something over and over and, well, as you've seen in this book, and still not know what it means. But with the help of everyone and deciphering, and I think that's how you get through this book. I think that's how it creates clarity.
Absolutely. I honestly think that this is a book that needs to be read in a group.
Yes.
Only because it's like when I hear Kathy have an interpretation, Marie-France and Lisa and, you know, everybody else, when I hear, it's like, oh yeah, like I can feel my mind expanding.
Right.
and ultimately, let's face it, fear comes from lack of knowing knowledge, you know.
Yeah.
Lack of understanding. So when we can like start to understand things that we haven't been able to, it allows this release of fear at the same time.
Right.
Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thank you all, ladies, for another beautiful meeting. I think that starting a next one on chapter 3 would be a great start. Do we want to,
Oh,
what was that, Kathy?
this was wonderful.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much, ladies.
I do too. I really enjoy it. Maybe even if I was late in the readings and everything, I'll be really up to date in next meeting. But yeah, I just love this. This is just so interesting.
It really is. Yeah. The journey has been awesome. And thank you so
Yeah.
much, Lisa. We know you were having technical difficulties, but your little input has been amazing as well.
Yep.
So thank you to everybody and have a great day.
Bye-bye.